faith is all very well, but when it comes to people losing their lives, just who is accountable, who is responsible for that? Joining us now, the Congress MP from Thiruvananthapuram, Shashi Tharoor. Mr. Tharoor, thanks very much for being with us. Firstly, the Travancore Devaswom Board, which is in charge of close to 1,000 temples in Kerala, have said that they will not obey a ban on fireworks. This is a very powerful body in Kerala. Can any political party, yours or realistically any other political party, challenge the writ of this body?
Well, if it's a judicial decision to ban fireworks, then very clearly no one is above the law, and the Devaswom Board will have no choice but to comply. We have already seen in our country with the Shani Shingnapur decision that it is possible for religious authorities to have to bow to the wisdom of the courts. And right now it's a High Court judge who has petitioned for a ban. I think the principal problem and the even discussion of a ban could have been avoided if only some sensible safety precautions and guidelines had been adhered to. Under those guidelines, this kind of firework display, competition, whatever it was, could not have happened in this particular temple because it was in a very crowded and congested area, and houses nearby it had been damaged in previous years from the normal fireworks display without a tragedy happening. Houses had been damaged. An 80-year-old lady living near the temple had actually filed a complaint, and on the basis of all this, the fire and rescue services had advised against. The collector and the additional district magistrate had all said, no, we cannot give permission. So if there are standard guidelines and safety considerations and there are mechanisms for evaluating when they apply, the simple answer is this particular firework display or competition should never have been allowed to happen.
No, but Shashi,
whether there's a blanket ban or not tomorrow is not the issue.
It was not allowed to happen. It was not allowed to take place. It took place because people broke the law. The police were actually there. Today
exactly.
we've got top police officers in Kerala saying that thousands of people would have turned violent. The district administration, as you pointed out, had it out in writing. The police can't do anything. The district administration can't do anything. Temple authorities flouted any number of laws and went ahead and did it. So where is the law in this very sensitive issue? It doesn't exist, does it?
Well, this is the most disturbing aspect of all of this, that if you start conducting yourself as a society where the law doesn't matter, it's a slippery slope down which various other things can go seriously wrong for us. The truth is, you're right, the law was very clear and unambiguous, but with a lack of people gathered there, I was told there were about 1 lakh. Fortunately, when the tragedy occurred, many people had dispersed, but there were 1 lakh at peak. The police would, they believe, have had an uncontrollable law and order problem on their hands if they had stopped the firework display from proceeding.
You know, this is interesting.
Having
I asked this as a clarification. Are you saying 1 lakh? I have read that elsewhere, but what we were reporting all through yesterday was that it was 15,000 people. That number is huge by itself. But really, Shashi, were there 1 lakh people in Kollam at that temple site?
Apparently earlier in the night, not at 3:30 a.m. when the explosion happened, but earlier in the night at slightly more civilized hours, it seems there were up to 1 lakh. But these are all anecdotal accounts. I've been speaking to people in Kerala who have heard these figures. But it certainly at the time of the tragedy, it seems the numbers were much fewer, about 15,000. The problem is even 15,000 people can start a riot, and the police clearly judged at an earlier stage when this thing started that they couldn't actually use physical force to prevent it. But the problem is, you know, this whole business also of why is religiosity now become a public spectacle? I grew up in a very devout Hindu home where worship was supposed to be between you and your idea of divinity. It's only in recent years that we've seen all this business of loudspeakers blaring out bhajans at 4 a.m. and waking up the neighborhood, and now firecrackers going off in the last 10, 15 years and destroying houses in the neighborhood. People give the sanctity of tradition to things that in fact are not centuries old. Our religion has been practiced for 2,000 years without loudspeakers and firecrackers, but suddenly it's become an indispensable part of the performance of religion as a public spectacle. And it seems to me that if we need firecrackers to dazzle people into following the faith, then the faith is in much sorrier shape than many of us Hindus believe it is.
But Shashi, what is the real story over here as you interpret it? It's election season now. The administration had tried its best. The police were helpless. In fact, the police, some people say, could have been more proactive earlier on. But for whatever the reason is, they were unable to do that. Is this because did this tragedy take place because no political force, the state government was not in a position during election season to be more forceful?
Well, I'm not sure that that's entirely fair, because even though politicians did intervene, the district administration was not moved. I know from a minister in the government that he called the collector, said a lot of people in my constituency have come asking for this permission to be given. And of course, as a politician, your job is to represent the wishes of your constituents. But the collector said very firmly, sir, it's against the law, I'm not going to allow it. And the minister backed off. There's a minister, a serving minister in the state government,
Baby, right?
From that area.
Yes.
Therefore, no, Mr. Baby John, Shibu Baby John has said this, exactly. So the fact is that a politician will always reflect where the pressure on him comes from his voters and his constituents. But the administration can still stand ground. The worry that the police will have to look into, and you do know that the crime branch is going into this, in addition to the judicial investigation that has been authorized, the police will have to look into the judgment that was made, that even though the decision of the authorities was clear, the police felt they couldn't enforce it in the face of the temple authorities' defiance. Obviously, the temple authorities, now 5 people have been arrested and put in jail. People working for the contractor who set off the fireworks have also been put in jail. So there's going to be now some retribution. But retribution after 100 lives have been lost and 350 people critically injured is scant consolation for decisive action that should have been taken before the fireworks actually started.
I think it's also deeply shocking that the DC, A. Shainamol, and the ADM, A. Shahnawaz, were told by some people, again these are reports, but they've not been categorically denied by either of these officials, that look, both of you are from a different religion and therefore you are impeding our faith and our celebrations. And to their credit, they said, look, the law is the law, we will stand up to whatever the pressures may be, and apparently the pressures were extreme.
This is a report I have seen also. They are both Muslims, it's I think common knowledge, but obviously a professional IAS officer and a district magistrate are not acting as religious individuals, they're acting in pursuance of the law and making administrative decisions in keeping these regulations. There are administrators in our country who have knuckled under to popular pressure and political pressure. They refuse to do so to their credit, and we should commend them for having stood by the law. The fact is that the temple authorities are first of all to blame for having decided to defy the prohibition and go ahead and let off the fireworks. The people complicit in stocking, storing and lighting them are also clearly complicit. The question mark is around the police who are physically present but judged that they could not intervene and stop it for fear of triggering off a law and order problem. Even the Home Minister of the state has spoken with sympathy of the police predicament. So it's difficult for us to sit on television and judge them, but these will all have to be investigated as to whether indeed that judgment was right, or whether the police should have braved whatever public disapproval there might be and say, this is for your safety, please disperse. It
All right,
Shashi, a tough decision to make.
It's a tough decision. Lots of lives have been lost. Many more tough questions will be asked of the police and their inaction. That's what a lot of people would say. Shashi, thanks very much for speaking to us. We are joined at this stage by the spokesperson of the Sabarimala Trust, Rahul Ishwar, Tom Varakan of the Congress with us over here. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the Rajya Sabha MP, has been watching on. Lakshmi Nalapat is a member of the former royal family of Travancore. They're all with us. And we'll be joined in a few moments by N.K. Premchandran, the Lok Sabha MP from Kollam. Rahul, you've heard what Shashi Tharoor had to say over there. Are you one of those who is in favor of this fireworks display continuing?
Sir, I agree with that partially, but we should be realistic enough this situation. There are many temple committees, there are devasams, there are tantris. Many people would object to a total ban. So it should be some kind of celebration, and charity should be balanced. And that charity, we should spend this money for humanitarian work, charity work, and you will be surprised to know, in the last few years, more than ₹1 billion were spent on elephants and fireworks. This celebration should be balanced with charity. Outright ban will backfire, and criminal culpability is a very tough thing. We should have responsibility. We should not pass the buck. But having said that, criminal responsibility will be too tough a call to make.
Why is there no criminal responsibility, Rahul? I fail to understand. There was the administration clearly said it wasn't allowed. The temple authorities went ahead and did it.
I agree. I'm a part of temple committees. That's the reason why I'm saying what happens is many a times even the state apparatus don't intervene beyond a point, because there is cultural sensitivity involved, religious sensibilities involved. So we would say we agree the broader principle, we would vouch for that. But let us not have a total ban, rather balance celebrations with charity. Our temples should have more spiritual content, like Shashi Tharoor ji said, not some kind of a carnival only kind of atmosphere. We love carnivals and fireworks. Having said that, it should be balanced.
That's the point. If this is just a carnival, why not get rid of this carnival which is dangerous?
See, what happened with carnival is it ended up devoid of spiritual content. We have been more emphasizing on celebrations. I concede that point from the part of the temple. But having said that, it should have a consensual approach, and we should build forward a consensus for this approach.
All right, a consensus from this approach. Rahul Ishwar, thank you very much for speaking to us over there. Do stay on if you can. I know you need to move on, but I want to go across at this stage to Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who's got a different version of events on the basis of actually being there on the ground. Why do you feel, Mr. Chandrasekhar, that in fact the role of the police and politicians needs to be investigated much, much more closely? It's not enough to say that, look, you know, we had 2 brave IAS officers over there and the police couldn't really have done anything. Why do you feel that culpability falls at the doorstep of the administration and the police?
Vishnu, I listened with some amusement to Shashi's points, and I think he's rushing to give a clean chit to the people who are mainly responsible for the safety, law and order, and for compliance of law. Let's be clear, the local administration and the collector is claiming that they have issued a letter that banned fireworks. I have seen that letter.
Yep.
That letter says there is a ban on competitive fireworks. If they were so particular about banning fireworks, this would have been an order that would have been less ambiguous, absolutely explicit, that there is a ban. Let's be clear. There are games being played.
Yep.
There is alibis being created. There is an investigation that needs to be done about the role and responsibility of the local administration. There is a police station 100 meters away from the temple. What were they doing while the crowd was gathering? There is absolutely no safety precautions anywhere in evidence. There are no barricades between the fireworks and the crowd that have gathered. So what was the collector doing? What was the police doing? I have absolutely no hesitation in saying if the temple authorities and the organizers have violated the law, the whole book should be thrown at them and they should be in jail. But to suddenly make this a discussion about religion and banning fireworks and letting the local administration and police off the hook, which is where the focus should be. They are the ones responsible to ensure citizens are safe. They are the ones to ensure that laws are obeyed. And just to completely wash their hands off and say, this is about religion, this is about my religion, it is about somebody else's religion, and we are unable to do our job, then they should not be doing that job.
Lakshmi Nalapata, come in on this.
Figure out something else to do.
Yeah, just 1 second, Rajiv. Come in on this debate. Where do you stand on this entire issue of this carnival spirit and fireworks displays? It has become in recent times an integral part of religious events in Kerala, other parts of the country, but it's dangerous. Do you believe it needs to be banned completely?
I don't think it needs to be banned completely. Unfortunately, in India, throughout, this is not just Hinduism, throughout every religion has now become the root of violence. Okay? And it is very, like Dr. Tharoor said, it's very easy for us to sit in a TV studio and condemn the local people. Any temple in Kerala, okay, any average, I mean, any middle-sized temple and really big temples in Kerala, it's a total hazard for stampede, for fire. Artigal Pongala in Trivandrum, in my home state, which has about 30-40 women lighting chulhas to make khana for the goddess, that's a huge fire hazard. And believe me, if there is a fire spread, nobody is going to be doing.
So your point is, don't focus only on fireworks, focus on the entire issue of safety.
Focus on safety.
I think that's an important point. Perhaps we are focusing only on fireworks when in fact the number of people who've died in recent years in stampedes, not just in Kerala, across India, several hundred people, the numbers are staggering absolutely.
Exactly.
I think that's a very valid point, because these things are waiting to happen. We have seen it in North India, the stampedes. Now there is this Puram festival on the 17th, and this matter had gone to the Supreme Court. I am talking about Thrissur Puram.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court in its wisdom continued with the tradition, accepted it, but there was a caveat which said that the district collector and the SP are responsible directly. So now it is closely monitored. There is barricading, there are safety measures, there is police post outside where they have stored the material, and believe me there is supervision, but still you see there is this cases of elephants who get scared with the sound effects and what have you. And there is also a possibility, these are checks and balances, that a ban is not the end, it's not a solution. And even the PIL that's been filed, which has been turned into a PIL, yes, is not about banning, it is about the content of the firecracker, the decibel level being lowered. Yes, checks and balances should be in place, local administration must swing into action, and it's not just sitting in the district collectorate and saying, we stop it, we ban it. I heard Chandrasekhar ji mentioning about the business of competitive, yes, fireworks, that was a correct position, but it is only after interrogation of the employees that police has come to know that there was a competitive issue involved.
Actually, I've got the order of what the DM had to say, and Mr. Chandrasekhar, it's I mean, it can be interpreted slightly differently from what you mentioned, and it says, based on the inquiry reports and the application of the temple trust, it is understood that what is going to be held is not a fireworks display but a competitive show by two groups. Hence, the temple trust's petition seeking permission is denied and the show is banned. Legal action as per the Explosives Act will be initiated against those who violate the order. So this is fairly explicit, it's fairly clear. It just goes around that one word, Vishnu, competitive, Vishnu, right? But would you, no, Vishnu, as I mean, had you been in that temple,
the original order,
yeah,
Vishnu, the original order is a Malayalam order, and you have obviously reading order.
Yeah, I'm reading the English translation. Yes,
of an English translation. So therefore, this is the point I'm making. This is the point I'm making, that this is not a cut and dry slam dunk. I have seen that order, and I can tell you it can be interpreted any which way. And that is the question that I would put to the collector. Why was the ban not clear and explicit?
Okay. In fact, let me put that question.
Issues around the temple.
No, I'll tell you where we'll try and get an answer. Mr. Chandrasekhar,
why did she just not write that very clearly in the order?
Let me put that question to the Lok Sabha MP from Kollam, N.K. Premchandran. Let me ask that question to the Lok Sabha MP from Kollam, Mr. N.K. Premchandran, who joins us on the phone line. Sir, was there any ambiguity in the order of the district magistrate? Was there any ambiguity?
See, the fact to be noted is that the temple trust authorities have submitted an application before the district collector. Actually, not before the district collector, before the ADM, for getting permission for conducting the fireworks competition, not the fireworks show. The district collector, after examining the entire issue and taking into consideration the situation and the area, unequivocally, specifically given a direction by an order, stating that you are not entitled to conduct the fire competition there because of so many difficulties are there. And further, the order stipulates that if you act in contravention of this order, definitely you will be liable for punishment or you will be subjected to criminal liability under the Explosive Act. So the order of the district administration is very specific and very correct also. But what has happened subsequent to that government order, the district collector's order is, then subsequently again the report from the police has been taken by the authorities. They have submitted again the application, and the police have given, this is to my information, not authentic information, but to my knowledge and information, the district administration, the district police commissioner, he has submitted a report that for the competition it is not proper, but for the fireworks show, it's okay, it's well and okay, can be conducted. That was the report being submitted to the district collector. But unfortunately, since there were two holidays, the collector could not peruse the report of the district police commissioner. So the prior order was there. We really apprehend that some kind of concern was there from the concerned authorities. Otherwise, it is very difficult because the place of occurrence, the temple is just 100 meters away from the police station. It is not without the concurrence and knowledge of the police authorities. Definitely, the police was there, fire force was there. All these facilities were there.
No, but Mr. Premchandran, you're making some very important points. Let me ask you this. We keep using the word competitive fireworks display. Who were they competing with? Are there other temples close by? Who were they competing with?
No. The competition is between, you will say, Asans, Kollam Asans, the fireworks Asans, that is fireworks masters. In the name of two masters, this fireworks competition will be conducted. You know, in Thrissur it is fireworks, but not this dynamic and all these things. That is, there also this competition is there. In most of the temples, this competition is there, but nowadays it is coming little bit, it is coming lesser and lesser. But even then, in this temple, I know even for decades back, this competition, this temple, this Puchingal Devi temple is actually popular and famous for having this fireworks competition. It is there since 1 century ago.
Okay.
But the point to be considered is considering the new peculiar, because the number of people who are gathering here to witness this is being increasing every year, and two incidents of accident took place previously, one rail incident and another incident in which 3 people have died around 15-16 years back. So now the point to be considered is what has happened after the order by the district administration. Whether the fireworks competition is banned or the fireworks show is banned. That is the point to be inquired into by the crime branch of the Kerala police as well as the judicial probe.
Mr. Premchandran, thanks for making all of those points. Mr. Chandrasekhar, let me come back to you. It's not just about the nature of the fireworks. There are all sorts of rules, laws which have been violated. Contractors have violated explosives rules and safety norms, number one. In our country, unfortunately, no one even knows that these exist. There is a 100-meter safety zone that has been violated. Again, in our country, nobody knows that this even exists. The Supreme Court has said that 10 p.m. is the deadline for fireworks displays. Noise pollution is an issue. Does anybody care? No, this happened at 3 a.m. in the morning. Banned chemicals were used. There is a ban on the chemicals which were used in these fireworks display. Does anybody even know what these banned chemicals are? No, nobody cares. So therefore, is this part of a larger problem of just looking the other way and of no value for human life in situations like this?
And Vishnu, thank you for asking that question, because that is precisely the question that needs to be asked. This is not about religion. This is not about fireworks being banned. There will always be people who try and flout the law. What is the role of government and government institutions when they are faced with people, organizations, religious or any other form of organization that is hell-bent on breaking the law? Now, you can't, faced with the scenario like that, say, I am helpless because I am a collector, I am helpless because I am the police. That is what the government's function is, to enforce the law. And if those who break the law, they have to be prevented from breaking the law, or if they break the law, they have to be tried under law. Now, to take this amazing attitude that we should now start debating fireworks bans, we must start debating religious institutions, is to miss the point. The point that I would like to strongly make is the Kollam administration has failed. It has failed to enforce the law. It has failed to lay the rules on whether this is a religious institution or anybody else. and therefore there has to be a clear investigation that addresses the role of the Kollam administration, the Kollam police and the temple authorities. All three are as much under under scrutiny as each of them. But to make this only about the temple authorities or make this about fireworks bans is to miss the point. There are lawbreakers, and there is a role of the government to prevent these lawbreakers or to catch them and put them in jail.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us. Will there be proper action which will be taken, or will scapegoats be found? Sure, the temple authorities are on the run. They will eventually be caught. They will certainly be arrested, and perhaps there'd be action taken against them. But is that where this ends? What about the larger issues which have been raised over here? And the basic issue of how there is no safety whatsoever. In our temples, stampedes happen all the time. Fires are known to happen as well.